Hey everyone, it's Desiree, and we are back with our next part. So yes, I changed my mind. It's going to be an all-day thing where all the videos are just coming out at once. It's a lot easier. Just to recap, we have all of our ephemera that we made our own through die cutting, through stamping, and then we colored some of them. We got a lot of die cuts put together. We have those put away so that we don't lose any. And then, of course, we have our frame pieces that we'll use somewhere. Today, we're at the point where we want to build our pages and then provide some interaction in our album. So remember, here's our album. We've got our double-sided tape here ready to go, and we'll explain more on that. I don't think I showed the tape that I put on, but that's okay. And these are the base pages that we're going to create. They're like little tiny loops, but they're done in 2 pieces. So I've already done 2 of them. We're going to need a total of 4 because we have 4 spots on our hinge that are sticking up. All right, so we've got 2 of them done. I am using a 110-pound Recollections cardstock to do this. So these pieces here are cut 6 1/4 by 5 1/2, and we're going to score them. So I'm going to make sure that my edge 6 1/4 is at the top, and I'm just going to score at 3 3/4 because my chubby little fingers can't go down there like that. So I'm going to make sure that each one is scored a 1/2 inch in. Now that we have them scored, we're going to fold this over and make sure you have a decent crease going on each of these. You'll need 2 of these pieces for 1 base page. I'm going to use a 1/4 inch double-sided tape. When it comes to the construction of the album, whether it's the album itself, the hinge, and the base pages, or the interactive pages, I do like to use the combination of tape, double-sided tape, and liquid glue. What the double-sided tape allows, at least for me, again, my opinion, always my opinion, is it immediately grabs. You don't have to hold it when it comes to the glue. All right, we're going to remove the release paper, and I'm going to add some liquid glue just along the edges. I put the tape in the center of this area, and I'm going to take the second one, and you can see how I have them laid out. Here's this scored area, and here is this scored area. So I have one to the top, and I have one scored to the bottom. I'm going to take this right up to the edge of this piece, line them up, and again, because I've had glue on top of the tape, I've got a little wiggle room to make sure that they're lined up. Make sure your sides are lined up. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. Remove the tape. I'm going to take my nail, push this down, and I'm going to come from this side and swipe up. And then just press, removing all the extra glue. And that's our first one. And it's not bowing, too much. You want to be able to lay that flat however you would want. We're going to do the same thing for this one. Okay, so now we have our base pages completed, meaning just the bases. Now we're going to build upon them. Now, Post-its for me are my best friend when it comes to anytime I'm constructing an album. I don't believe that this is anything that will, you know, stay forever in my brain. Some can. I need to mark and know what's going on. So let me real quick grab. Okay, so now we have our base pages done. We have openings on each side because we created, again, this kind of loop effect. You want to make sure that you take these pages, and again, these are my tips because I think ahead, and that can get me in trouble. So what I love about albums is they slow you down. Enjoy the process, at least for me. You know, it just helps me to calm. So take your pages and make sure you have them laying. For me, it helps to have the openings on each of the sides, to my left and to my right. I'm going to place them down, and then Post-its are my next best friend. I am going to take a Post-it and put the number of each page with an arrow going up. So, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to slide it inside the page, like a little pocket. But I can see the number. I know my top is going this way. I'm going to take it and I'm going to flip it over. And then I'm going to take a 2. Same thing. And I'm going to do that for each of these pages. I know somebody will be upset with what I'm doing, but there is a method to my madness that helps me when I create. Yes, I do go through, and I'm talking to you guys, so this is really messy. Yes, I go through many Post-its, but I keep them and I reuse them until they just start falling apart on me, and I can no longer do that. So you can see I'm just putting my numbers. You can see these are side adhesive Post-its. Even if they weren't, you make that work. Flipping it over, knowing that now it's got to go that way. So I got a 4. And we're going to do this to each one. And I will fully explain what's going on here. Okay, so my pages are numbered. I know what's the top as I flip this through. My openings are to the side because my Post-its are coming out. Before I put these base pages onto my album, I do like to add the interactive portions, whether it's a flip, and that's what we're going to focus on, a flip, or the flips on the pages, and then we're going to do 2 waterfalls on each side. I want to know where my top is. I want to know if I do something different, which we're going to do on these 2. So on 4 and 5, we're going to do a different style of a flip when it comes to this. But I do all of that before I put it into my book or onto my hinge. But remember, if you're really adding a lot of flips, you've got one coming in this way, the one coming this way, the one coming in this way, one coming in this way, and you got a pocket in there, and all of these wonderful things that you can do, you need to remember, do you have to put your pattern paper down? And we'll talk about that just a little bit more. All right, so I have these. I'm going to set these just right here because I'm going to need to grab them. So for the single flip, we're going to do single flips and we're going to do a double flip in the center. I have my pieces here and they are cut 6 by 5.5. I'm going to grab my scoreboard See, you get a lot of scoring. And along the 6-inch, we're going to score at 5.5 for each one. And we're going to do the same as we do with everything else. We're going to fold these up and burnish them down. Okay, we have these done. Now again, we're only working with 1, 2, 3. We're leaving 4 and 5 alone, and I'm going to put a star on those pages because that should tell me, okay, I need to stop here. And then 6, 7, and 8. Same as before, I'm going to put my tape, add some glue. Let's get our tape down. I'll show you one, and then we'll get through all the others. Again, just adding our glue, making sure you can get close to that edge. We're going to take our page and we're going to line it with the top. And as you're lining that, you want to make sure that it's even on the sides as well. So now we have a flip. First one's done. Let's get the other ones completed. Okay, we have our flips. Now we don't have to worry about pattern paper here because we want to cover that lip. So our pattern paper will measure this, always measure, because for me what happens is I'm doing a 6x6 album. Yep, 6x6 album. So what do I cut all my pattern papers? 5 3/4 by 5 3/4, and that's not right. These are different sizes. So always measure before you're ready to put your pattern paper down. Again, we don't have to worry about for this setup because we're going to cover that up. So we have our first page, and then we have these two flips here. We don't have anything here. We skipped these. We're going to do something a little different. And then we have these two here and here. When I make an album that's like 6x6, you want to remember the size of the photo. Usually people are going to put 4x4 or 4x6 photos in there. If they have multiple, you can set that up so that there's multiple. So when I do a 6x6, I'm thinking, okay, they're going to put a large photo here and they need a spot to journal. So that's my thought process when it comes to building the pages. All right, so let's get to our center. We still have our Post-its in here, and you'll see how helpful they will be. So I'm going to open them up to the centers. And we're going to do a double flip. So for each one, I have cut 2 pieces to be 5.5 by 4.5. We are going to score. So I'm going to grab my scoreboard. And I'm going to score along the 4.5, and I'm going to score at 4. The way I like to know, okay, which side do I need to score on? I want this to be 4 inches tall on my page. So know what your width is, that's 5.5, and then know that you want this to come down. So when you take off that 1/2 inch, you're going to be at 4 inches. Now I'm going to do that to each of these. So we've got 4. And then I'm going to get my tape on and start putting this together. All right, so we have our pages together. I'm going to pull my 4th one down, and all we're going to do is we're going to put one at the top. Let's do that now. And the same thing that we did before. We're going to line it up, make sure our sides are where they need to be. We're going to press down. And we're going to do the same thing down here. So I'm just going to flip it this way. Again, that's why my numbers are there. I'm not flipping anything else over. Now, if you flipped one of your pages over, it's okay. It just means one of your flips is going to come down instead of going up. You can have a flip go down. And again, always close it to make sure things are lined up. Again, that's why we put that glue on the tape. It gives us some wiggle room. There we go. But once it dries, it dries. So now our page is back to where it should be because of my arrow and the number that I have. And that's going to close like that and create that area in the album. Now you can see it, bling. We're going to fix that with magnets. And again, even with this, you don't have to worry about your pattern paper because we're going to cover those up. So let's do page 5. Okay, we have put our pages back. Here's 4, here's 5, but these are just really whipping up here. So one of the things that I always struggled with when it came to my albums, I would create these you know, different types of closures. So like this would have one of those string closures here, or I would put 2 holes and tie a bow. Just did not want to deal with magnets. Well, thanks to a couple of people that I watched on YouTube. Yes, I watch YouTube. Totally easy way here. So I'm going to grab 2 magnets, or actually, and notice how I'm keeping them far apart here. I'm grabbing 4 sets of 2. Now I get these from Amazon. These are like 1 millimeter high. They're thin, so it works. I'm going to grab my 1/2 inch double-sided tape, and you want to use double-sided tape for this. I'm going to move my other pages. Remember, they're numbered. I'm not going to get confused. And I'm going to place something heavy on top of this. And I just got my things connected there. I'm going to take a thing there. Maybe one a little heavier. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab one of them and I'm going to put them down. I'm going to hold my page down because I want to make sure, yes, because they can come down just a little bit more. You don't want them right at the edge, but you want them close. So that's where I want them. And I'm going to cut 2 pieces. This was just an awesome thing that I saw. And I'm like, really? Okay. That makes sense. And just put your tape over that. They don't have to be even, and again, they're not going to be seen. These will be covered up by your pattern paper. To make sure that you have the magnets in the right spot, you want to cut 2 more pieces. And again, you want to make sure that they've got some length on them. We're going to grab 2 more magnets and we're going to stick them right on top the right way. There we go. You're going to grab your tape, now that you know which way the magnet needs to go, and you're going to place that right on top. Same thing, take your magnet, put it right on top of the sticky side of the tape, and place that down. Get that center just a little bit. Very sticky tape. I'm going to hold this down, bring up my top flap, and push it down. And I should be able to pull them apart. Just make sure you're not going to pull out your release paper yet. Just make sure your tape is down. All right, and if you go over just a little bit to the edge, that's fine. We'll work through that with one of those glue erasers. But now you've created a closure. I'm going to do this again on this side. Now you can also change your direction too. You can have one going up, and I think I will. I think I'm going to have this one coming down and then up. So opposite of what the other one is. So again, I'm going to grab And those are our pages. You can or could put magnets on these as well. I'm going to see how that is. And maybe I will after it's all done, before I put my pattern paper on. But here we have our pages. Again, our 2 magnetic closures going in the opposite way, and then the 3 up flips. All right, now it's time to get our pages. Now that we have all of this, we're not going to do anything else right now. We are now going to get these onto the hinge. I like to start from the back and come to the front. It's just something that I do. There's no rhyme or reason to any of these things. I have placed 1/2 inch double-sided tape along this top edge. You can see now I've got this 1/4 inch. You're going to use the tape as your guide because you're not going to push this page all the way down onto the hinge. You want to have that gap. I'm going to remove the release paper on one side. Carefully. And I'm going to fold it back. I'm going to grab my back set. Again, I'm flipping it over to get to my back. Where my post-its are is where I want my hand to go, because that's the opening that I want. So that's one of the main reasons to put those post-its in there, because now I know what needs to go down onto the hinge. I'm going to take this and I'm going to take it right to where the double-sided tape is. Now, you want to make sure that that's covered, but make sure you're even with it at the same time. This, for me, is just the end-all, be-all, time-consuming. You want a really good, strong, double-sided adhesive. It's not easy to get glue up in there. And you're going to remove your release paper slowly. That's the first one. I do one side for every one. So now I'm going to do the same thing. Come in, I'm going to bend this down. I'm going to grab my next one. Make sure my hand is in that pocket. I'm cupping in those pages, and I'm going to come down onto the hinge, and I'm going to rock it up. Now, since I've already got my first one down, that set the tone. So now what I want to do is I'm going to come in, I'm going to turn it, make sure I'm there, and I want to make sure I'm lined up on my pages so that I don't go crooked. Once I know I'm there, I'm going to press this section down, and I'm going to slowly pull the release paper and then press it. And my pages are even with each other as well. One time I didn't take notice of that, and you should have seen what I had. It was awesome. This, to me, is the most frustrating. Well, it's not frustrating. For me, it's the most time-consuming, because I want to make sure that I get this to where I need it. Make sure I'm touching my finger there. and I removed all of the release paper on that. That's okay. This is another way that you can do this. Now, since all of the release paper is removed, I'm going to add glue to the top of this. So you can do it this way. So definitely showing you different ways to get your pages onto your book. But just know that double-sided tape wants to grab. It just wants to do it right away. But by putting the glue on it, you're going to be okay. I'm going to grab this. That's where I want it. And I'm going to press down. That's the only way, if you do it this way, to get glue up in there. I do like that way. All right, last one. Now when you put your glue, you just want to put it on the tape. And we're going to grab our last one. Again, making sure that you're in the pocket that you need. You're going to wrap that around, bring it up. Let her billow out. Let it go a little flat so it's easier to get down onto the hinge. And I'm just going to line it up with my other ones. And press down. Again, pages as they come up are nice. They're even. And again, if they're a little bit off, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. A pokey tool is perfect for this because you want to get in there, and that's how you're going to grab on the other side your release paper. Once you see it, rub it. Just don't forget to take it out. Yep, made the most beautiful wedding album. Now this is coiled up just a little bit. You could squirt, you know, with your needle nose type glue, but you've got to be a contortionist, so you can just press down, but you can do it. That's our first one. I can remove the Post-its. Again, I do reuse them. Grab your release paper again. Pull it slowly and press down. Fold over. Remove your Post-its. Okay, all of our pages are in. We are going to just burnish down, get these pages to flip and to say, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. Again, with all the varnishing that you're doing, yes, it may leave some marks, but they're getting covered up by pattern paper. So that is our 6x6 album. It's cute. Now you can also create a larger mat in here because now you have a pocket. So you have a pocket on each side. The only other thing that I'm going to show, I mean, I'm going to do some pattern paper stuff on here, but I'm going to combine the pattern paper onto I forgot what I was going to say. I'm going to do the two outer portions here. I want to put two small waterfalls on the inside of the front and the inside of the back. And that's what I'm going to show you next. This is an area, however, and you'll see I'll have the pieces that you must put your pattern paper down first. So I have I have all the pieces cut. So here's the pattern paper that I want to use on the front and the back. I'm going to put those down first. And then we're going to construct our waterfall. All right. So let me set that aside because let's do this first. So for your waterfall, I've cut 4 pieces at 4 and 4.5, and I scored at 1/2 on the 4.5 inch side. So basically now I have a 4 by 4 inch square. Done that 4 times. I like to create a base, and this base is cut 4, same width as our pieces, by 5.5. And you'll see what that looks like. This is the same construction. We're going to add our tape to our 4 panels. And this is something that I do test drive. And once I have these measurements down, I make a note for the waterfall, because your waterfalls can be different sizes. You can have different layers. It all depends on the size of your book, the size of your area, how many flips you want, and so forth. So I make notes. All right, we're going to burnish these down. You do not need to add pattern paper to this base. I'm going to remove my first release paper. Add my glue. I'm going to take the base and I'm going to line this first one up at the edge. Again, just like we did with our pages, I want to make sure that it's lined up on the side as well, or else you'll have pages that are going like this. I'm going to get my next one ready. Remove the release paper. I'm going to open this up, and this line right here, I'm going to line the next piece. I'm going to butt that right up against that. Again, making sure that it's lined up on the sides, bringing this down and making sure that's lined up there as well. Push that down. And we're going to continue to do that. Again, lining up on the base of that other piece that we're gluing down. Now, you could stop right here. We've got our 4, 4, 4, and then we have a little bit bigger. But when they lay down, we've got even spacing. All right. I am going to add one more down there, and it's going to almost line up with our base. But you could have stopped right there. I mean, I like to have a lot of these on. Again, lining up the base, lining up the sides, holding everything else down to make sure she's lined up there too. And there is our waterfall mechanism. So you can add a photo, 3x3, 4x4, and each of these will be matted. So this will be matted as well. So we didn't need our pattern paper. So let me get this one in here, and I'm going to put a piece of removable tape on that flap. I'm probably going to put a magnet on that, on each of these, so that they don't flop around. All right, so I'm going to add my paper and I'm going to add the mechanism. Now that our pattern paper's down, I'm going to take this and I'm going to center it. I'm going to eyeball it. But I do want it towards this, but I am going to put that down and I'm lining it up so that the pattern paper shows at the top, the bottom, and of course the sides. Because there's so much here, I am going to pull in my double-sided tape so that I can put that around the edges with the glue. This has, and it's going to have a lot of movement and a lot of paper on it. The pattern paper that we add, the photos that are going to be added, the workout that it's going to get. I just want to make sure that this is going to stay. I get very paranoid about that. Whenever I've made these, and I continue to make them for people, but I just get paranoid it's all going to fall apart. Okay, so here we go. We're going to place this down. And again, I'm just eyeballing it. We're going to make sure that's placed. And we're going to press that down well to make sure that it grabs on to the pattern paper. And then we'll come in with our bone folder and just press that down. And then lift every section up, and you can press down in that area as well. Keep burnishing these folds, and they will eventually lay flat. Let me remove that. So that first one is in. We'll have fun decorating that. And that is our album. Now off camera, I'm going to put the back one on. It's the same way that I did this one. And I'm just going to add my papers and probably magnets in here, but it's the same way that I did it here. So no difference. So when we come back, we are going to decorate with our ephemera. Okay, so I got all of my pattern paper and solid cardstock cut. Now, paper clips are my best friend. So I just have a box specifically for this, and it just holds my cuts. This is the time where I do write on each of the areas what the size of the cardstock is. Now, for some reason, again, crafting is fun. Absolutely. Crafting is a blast. But we do tend to make our boo-boos. And yeah, I made an awesome one. Wait till you see what it is. So this, out of this complete pad, 24 sheets of 6 by 8.5. These are the pages that I have left. So I have 4 or 5 full sheets, and then I have all of my pieces there. So this will go through. Now, you do have to supplement. If you're only using one paper pad, 9 out of 10, you got to supplement with solid colors. But I think that looks great. It could either be a spot for your recipient to put a photo, or they can journal in that spot with the photo that's close by. That was, I haven't gotten to the boo-boo yet. Well, the first boo-boo is when I wrote the size, because again, we always measure, I wrote the size of the area. Okay, so this area is 5.5 by 5.5. You want to make sure then you're writing what you need to cut. So if this is 5.5 by 5.5, this is going to be 5.25 by 5.25. So that way I made a few cuts that were the exact same size. And I like to have the border that goes around the cardstock, whether it's solid or pattern paper. Paper clips, as I said, are awesome. They hold down where you're going to put your paper. So I have this. Here's the solid piece that I chose here. There's the pattern paper. When you turn around, again, there's the pattern paper. There's the solid. There's the other pattern paper, and so forth. So these are the colors that I chose that went with it. So here we have our double pocket, or our double flip. Here's where I made the mistake. So remember when I was saying when we put the pages onto the hinge, make sure you're putting them in the right slot. That's why I have the Post-its. Take your hand down that and make sure your two fingers meet. I did not do that with this one. I did not glue it correctly. It was literally glued to these pieces here, the flips that I have. Not a problem. Absolutely not a problem. I glued both flips down on this side. I closed up this area that was open, and I'm going to make it a pocket that just goes up. This is a nice tight pocket, so nothing's going to go anywhere and anything will be lost. So again, we can adapt to that. I giggled when I noticed it. So yeah, I just put it in the wrong slot of that folio. Now again, some people do take those original pieces, the bases that we made before we put the flips, and then they put them on the hinge. You can certainly do that as well. It will never cause any confusion. But normally I like to keep my pages off, decorate them, and then put them on the hinges. It's just easier to work with. I chose not to do that this time. So again, paper clips are holding everything on, and there's the choice between the pattern and also the solid cardstock. I did choose to put magnets in these pages as well, so that they'll stay down. Again, this will be flipped a lot, so having things flap all over the place is kind of annoying. And then I also added this band here that will hold the waterfall down. So nothing's glued in. The only thing that's glued in are the waterfalls. I'm going to go ahead and get all of my papers glued down into this book. So I'll be right back. I just wanted to real quick break in. You can see why I do like to decorate the pages before I put them on. So they get very bulky. Now you'll see some areas that I haven't covered yet, like the underside of this tab, the in-betweens of these sections. So because I know that there's no, paper going in there, I'll consider that like an embellishment, and then I'll accent with something else. So let's continue on. So we have now added all of our papers. We've got our waterfall. And again, we used the solid in the center and we used the pattern up on top. We made sure that our pattern paper was down first before we put our waterfall down. We have our pattern papers on the outside, and then on the inside we've placed a solid piece. And again, it's one flip. And again, just pulled solid colors from the stash. This here is our double flip. Here is the error that I made by putting it in the wrong slot. So we just turned it into a pocket where something just goes up. And you can see it's a really tight pocket, so things won't fall out of that. And then we continue in our flips. And then we end with our last waterfall. Yes, it is very symmetrical. It is very, okay, I know what's coming up next. Sometimes, and usually, that is how I work within my albums, especially when they're in together. And when I'm working on pages separately, they're like mini art pages where you're just adding what you need to and fill in from there. So that takes us to the end of this video. So the last video is probably going to be everyone's favorite, and everyone can just skip to that. We are now going to decorate our pages, our flips, with all of that beautiful ephemera from the Set Sail collection by Scrappy Tails. Sabrina did a great job with that. And again, this is the pattern paper that I have left from her 24 sheet collection. But I hope to see you in the last video. Yes, this was a long series, but again, wanted to hit all kinds of different details because I like providing details, and hopefully you grab something in your stash and craft along with me. All right, guys, the products that I use, basically the link to Sabrina's shop will be down below. If you have any questions, please make sure you put those down below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Make sure you subscribe, hit that thumbs up, and ring the bell for notifications so that you can know when the next video is available. That's very important, and it's also very appreciative that you do that. So just let me take a minute to say thank you. I am truly grateful to all of my subscribers, my followers, those that take the time to ask questions, that email me. Bless the emails. I am here to answer your questions and to help you in your crafty journey. Enjoy the art, though, that you create. Enjoy the process. Take the time to breathe through it, because yes, this does take some time, but it is very relaxing. It's a great stash buster. If you've got those paper pads that you just don't know what to do with, this is perfect. So I will see you in the next one where we will complete this album. But guys, remember still what is most important to me. Always be creative. And I will talk to you in the next one. Till then.